let's move on. Let's talk about the NFL draft. We talked about wide receivers that the Ravens could keep.
Yeah.
But we're talking about this and it's like, oh man, are the Ravens going to be able to draft this guy, draft this position? The Ravens also do something called BPA, best player available. And they've traditionally done this and they've drafted some players that a lot of people were like surprised by.
Hmm.
Kyle Hamilton was one of them. Was I excited about Kyle Hamilton? Absolutely. I talked about Kyle Hamilton. I was like, I would draft this guy top 5. Like, I thought he was a top 5 player in this draft class. And he was available. And I was like, oh my goodness, we better draft this guy.
Right.
And we did. So shout out to the Ravens. Shout out to Eric DeCosta, nailed that pick. But safety wasn't the biggest need for the Ravens last draft. It was,
Hmm.
wide receiver. Shocker. It was wide receiver and maybe edge rusher. There were some good wide receivers. There were some good edge rushers. We ended up going with the safety.
Yeah.
This draft, I know people have seen the mock drafts. They've seen Mel Kiper, and I know the Ravens put out like a mock draft thing of like all the experts and what they're saying. We see guys like Bijan Robinson going to the Ravens from some people. We see players like Brian Brees or Breesy going to the Ravens, or maybe it's I think I've seen Michael Mayer as well, but also
That's
the
tough.
Brian Branch as well. A safety, maybe cornerback hybrid where it's like, hey, what are the odds that the Ravens don't go wide receiver or corner? And is there any player that maybe you'd be like okay with them going after if they fall? Or are
Um,
you just like, we got to draft these positions or we're screwed?
I'm 100% that the Ravens, if the wide receiver that the Ravens want, because I'm not going to say we, I'm going to say the Ravens want, is not there. If a 5'10" guy is not there, if Josh Downs or St. Five was to get picked up, or what's the other guy out of University of Houston? Um,
Tank Dell.
Tank Dell, if he's not there, I could actually see them going for Brian Breesy out of Clemson.
Mhm.
The good thing about Brian Brees is he's a smaller, more slimmer version of Travis Jones. So you literally can line up that big guy on a defensive as a defensive end. I know people are a little hesitant about David Ojabo because yes, we did see him contribute, but he didn't play a lot of games. So I mean, you're expecting someone to come in their sophomore year and produce a double-digit number of sacks. That's a tall ask. You're gonna have Odafio Way in his what is it junior season, his third year as a Raven. He kind of regressed a little bit because we did have him move like in a hybrid position. But once Tyus Bowser got back, we put him down. He was back in that 3 technique. He was kind of getting better, here and there. So, I feel like, bringing up Brian Breesing, that's very aggressive, very agile, very mobile. He's a hostile type of guy, and he just has crazy strength. You know, I think he would be a great addition to that defensive line, especially to that young core. So if the Ravens are there at 22, they don't see a wide receiver that they like. They don't see a corner like a Ringo or Gonzalez or things of that nature. I wouldn't be surprised that that they'll beef up and get stronger in the interior.
Yeah, I think it's definitely possible. And maybe we go offensive line as well. We
Hmm.
don't know who's going to be starting at left guard. Osiris Torrance is a guard out of Florida that, maybe the Ravens go with him. Again,
Yeah.
you know, offensive line really drastically moves, especially interior of where they're going to get drafted. Some people have them third round, some people have them first round. I remember I believe it was Cole Strange was his name, the offensive lineman out of Chattanooga. He
Hmm.
got drafted to the Patriots in the first round, and Sean McVay was in his press conference, and he goes, "Oh my goodness, we were here sitting here scouting him, thinking he was going to be available in the third round." So it's like, offensive line's very difficult, especially interior, like center. Remember Creed Humphrey? It was like
Yeah.
Creed Humphrey. People had him going to the Steelers early in the first, and then it was like maybe the Ravens. Then it was like late second round. Tyler Linderbaum. And we had no idea. Um, it's just like very, very specific because not a lot of people draft interior offensive linemen early. I know the Jets did with Elijah Vera Tucker. I remember they took him pretty early in the year they drafted Zach Wilson. Um, but outside of that, outside of the offensive line, I'm thinking maybe we go D line. I think that's potential.
Yeah.
I think I need to watch him more. I haven't watched many like defensive edge rushers that are in the early rounds because I don't think we're going after him. But Lucas Van Ness is somebody that I've heard some things about. I've watched a little bit of things about him,
Mhm.
and because he's a guy that can line up anywhere on the edge or interior, and like maybe the Ravens go after him as like a versatile player that we can really fill in anywhere because Calais Campbell's not going to be here forever.
Right.
But if we went edge, I mean that's 3 years in a row drafting edge rusher in the first or second round, which would be very difficult. And I don't want to say it, but like the Ravens could go Bijan. I think Bijan is the best running back I've ever watched, and in terms of a prospect.
Yeah.
I think he's better than Saquon. I think he's got better vision than Saquon. He doesn't have the burst or like the straight line speed of a Saquon Barkley. But like the Ravens could look at it and go, oh man, we can have a 1-2 punch at running back. And what's sad is he would be the one. JK would not be the one, and that would frustrate JK. But the Ravens
he's in his contract year.
Yeah, and so it's like maybe the Ravens try and trade JK or they try and do something. Again, this is not something I'm rooting for, but I'm just thinking of like the way that the Ravens think, they do that type of thing, right? They go out and they draft players that people aren't really looking for specifically, and instead they do. But John Michael Schmitz could also be someone that maybe they go after. I believe he's an offensive guard. I know he's interior O-line. Oh no, he's a center. Never mind. We're not drafting a center. That's not a position where I'm boldly saying we're not drafting center this year in the first round. But Brian Branch could also be the other one. Just because he's a safety corner hybrid, and he could be kind of a slot / nickel player where we would move on from Chuck Clark and have him along with Kyle Hamilton and Marcus Williams. I just feel like corner is so much more. Like there's so many good cornerbacks this year where it's like I don't think there's a situation where there's no good corners available, right?
Yeah,
and there's going to be wide receivers and corners available. We just don't know which. Like maybe Joey Porter Jr. is not available, maybe Cam Smith's not available, but maybe Devin Witherspoon is. And he's solid. He's a potential guy, which I don't know if we'd want because he's new to the position. Keely Ringo, slides to the second. Maybe the Ravens trade back and go after a Keely Ringo, maybe at the very end of the first round. But I feel like the Ravens are going to go wide receiver or corner purely because there's so many of them that are going to be available. It's not a position. It's not like a position where it's like there's 3 guys that are first round players. It's like, no, people have like 5 wide receivers, 6 wide receivers as potential first round players. And then there's like 6 corners that could be first round players. So like there's no way 12 of the picks in front of the Ravens are wide receiver or corner. There's going to be offensive line, edge, and quarterbacks as well. There's also good safeties, good running backs. So I feel like the Ravens aren't going to do that this year. But at the same time, I don't think I'm going to be upset if they do.
Mm-hmm.
Like if, let's say the Ravens went edge or the Ravens went like, I would be okay with that if they have a plan. Like if the Ravens go, okay, we're extending Lamar. All right, so we're going to have a little bit of cap space because we'll maneuver the caps. We'll have money this year. We're going to drop Chuck Clark. We drafted edge. We're going to sign a DB. To play corner. Maybe it's Marcus Peters on a veteran minimum. We'll draft a guy in the 3rd round and we could trade for a wide receiver. Maybe we trade for a Mike Evans. Like if we have a plan to like trade for a wide receiver, we may draft, best player available if we get a Mike Evans, right?
Yeah.
Todd Monken's coached Mike Evans. Maybe we do like legitimately go after him and draft another position in the 1st round that's like maybe surprises some people. But like CeeDee Lamb was a surprise when he was drafted. Like, wow, the Cowboys went wide receiver. They have Amari Cooper. They have Michael Gallup. This is a good wide receiver room. Why would they do that? Well, look what happened. It worked out because they recognized down the line they're going to have to drop those guys because they're making so much money. Now they're just rocking out with CD. He's a complete baller. Top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. So shout out to them. Shout out to Jerry for doing that one. But there's some interesting pieces. I just can't wait for the combine. And I can't wait to, get ready for this draft because we're already getting ready, but there's so many things that we could do.
So, all right, scenario. We franchise tag Lamar, get the picks to whoever from whoever. Which developmental quarterback would you get?
I don't think I'm going development. I think I am rocking with the vet. We'll call him the vet. I'm going with Hendon Hooker. I think if we do that, and I think, if we get a first, like, let's say we trade him, I don't know, a couple of teams that have been brought up. Falcons, they have pick 8, Colts pick 4, right? We get pick 8. We can take any quarter we want, or we could take any wide receiver. There's no wide receivers that should go top 10 this year. There's no wide receivers that should go top 20 this year, in my opinion. Maybe Addison. But I think that's about like where I'm at. Like just go after, maybe trade that pick, or maybe go after like a Jalen Carter if he slides a little bit. But I feel like if we trade Lamar, we don't want to trade it for picks this year. Like trade for picks next year. Trade for picks in the future, because I think like next year, if the Ravens are really bad, go after, Marvin Harrison Jr., go after, Caleb Williams. Like this is not a good quarterback draft class.
Exactly.
I don't think this is a very good wide receiver draft class. And we have a lot of edge rushers, but maybe you could go edge. Will Anderson obviously is very good, but he's like going top 3. So I don't think we're getting Will Anderson. But like that's kind of my thought is like if we trade Lamar, we don't have to go for a quarterback right now. We can maybe draft someone now. We could draft someone like Jaron Hall. I think he would be that's my strat. We trade Lamar Jackson, we draft Jaron Hall, and he backs up this year, or maybe starts later in the year as a 3rd, 4th round rookie, and see what he can do. If he can't prove it, Josh Rosen it, right? That's what the Cardinals did. They started Josh Rosen for a year, then they went, nope, we're drafting your replacement because you're not it. We wouldn't be doing that with the 1st round pick. We'd be doing that with a 3rd or 4th. Like that's what I would do if we traded Lamar. Or we could do this and we could trade Lamar and go for Aaron Rodgers for a year.
Yeah, I think after Aaron comes back from his darkness retreat, man, I think he's saying forget the NFL, man.
Maybe. Aaron Rodgers is a weird dude. But I got the jersey already. I got the jersey right here. Just waiting for you, Aaron. Just in case.
Man, if we was to trade away to Lamar, I do like the fact that you brought up, about us going for future picks. But honestly, if we're in the top 10, and CJ Stroud is there while we're there.
Oh yeah, I would take Stroud. I'd take Stroud.
Gotta go for CJ, man. And if we get a future pick for next year that'll get us back in the 1st round, and we we don't do so hot, and we able to get a Marvin Harrison Jr. The following year, I'm like, we gotta immediately do what we didn't do with Lamar. Actually pair him up with good guys. And if you're going to get a wide receiver, that's going to be that guy, Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be that guy. Pair him up with his former QB. Do what Cincinnati did with Joe Burrow. Pair him up with his guy Jamar Chase. So it's definitely a thing to look at it. But I also like the Hendon Hooker move too, man. But it's so many things that can happen. I know everybody's talking about. We're not about to get deep into this contract talk anyway. But so many people talk about he doesn't deserve this. He does deserve this, or he's not going to play. He shouldn't play this year. At the end of the day, Lamar, he wants. I'm not in his personal camp, but he's a competitor at the end of the day. But at the end of the day, while you are a competitor, you want to get paid for your worth. and I'm not mad for anyone knowing that for knowing their worth, and we're just going to continue to see how this plays out. But definitely going to be interesting. What they got 2 weeks officially to place them on the tag, I believe.
Yeah, I believe the tag's open today.
Yeah,
You could do it. And then yeah, you have a little bit of time.
yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah, we will see. But I think that's I think pretty good for this episode. We'll definitely try and either stream later this week, or definitely we'll be recording another episode next week. So we can talk more draft if you guys want. We can talk combine players to watch, all that stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you all so much for coming through. Subscribe for Daily Ravens content. Go check out the podcast platforms. We may have to start doing some sort of thing to get more people listening on there, because I think it's an easier way to listen personally. But thank you all so much for listening and watching, and we'll see all of you again next time.